of the pack is going to be awesome, and I think, we're going to have some electric final 3 games to see who's going to qualify.
It's going to be exciting. This is the moment to make your move. Jamerson, a team that made their move recently too, Exo Clan. I mean, they won that game too, but Case Swinney and squad usually have some of the loudest fans in the building trying to make it work. Just one more series in order to qualify, currently sitting in 2nd place.
Yeah, I mean, the Exo Clan fans have been coming out from the woodwork, but here in Japan it has been a completely different beast. Fnatic has a huge showing, of course. Enterforce has their teams, along with Dreamfire. I mean, the Dreamfire fans, even in Germany, was an absolute unit in how they led their chants, and everything was absolutely insane. But this is important for Exo Clan to be able to stay alive so far, have a decent performance in the first half. Now they just need to finish strong in the next 3 maps.
All right, let's take a look at our past 3 maps as well before we head into previewing the next 3. Final circles coming up. It was game number 1. Team Liquid started off strong.
Yeah, I talked about them in the last tournament, coming up clutch in that final game, and they decided not to wait that long this time around. They decided to get their win early, but they're still in a position where they need points. We're in a spot right now where they did a really good job this game 1. They can't be complacent. What they did is they were able to just hold all these areas. You wait for all these ults to come down. Liquid did such a good job of clearing out space around them and choosing just to stay together, stay as close as you possibly can. There is really no way in this meta that you can end up alone. You have to be as close as possible to these teams. We're watching other teams fall down. You end up in these shotgun battles where everyone just drops on top of each other. It just comes down to playing the patient game here. So all we're watching is, we're seeing 100 Thieves putting shoddy shots down, waiting for the bubble to go out. And it just comes down to just the perfect execution out of this team. We're not really getting to see much out of them to see what happens here, but you can just tell they're playing patient.
Yeah, leaving the chaos over to the other teams and trying to stay close to capitalize on it. Jayhawk game 2, Exo, this is what we talked about. They made the chance to capitalize and took it.
Yeah, and you just talked about chaos. This was actually one of those chaotic end games I've seen in quite some time because we kind of had 2 conglomerates of teams in this end zone, and it all ended up converging on the south side on this one pillar. Furia was up there. Shopify tries to challenge them for it. It doesn't work, and then all of a sudden, Exo Clan enter Force 36, the Hawkus ratting on the outside. They come in late and all group up around this pillar down below and right above, and then Exo just happens to be the team that won the height, and then they're able to drop down, get the win, because everybody else already has their Gibby bubbles out, and we've talked about this many times. Getting that last bubble in, being the final aggressor, controlling the pace of play, what a win from Exo.
Huge numbers there, 12 kills overall, 8 kills for Case Swinney, 1.7k damage. Jamerson, we just saw this one play out though, game 3. It was TSM looking like they had a chance, obviously battling up on top, but Interforce would show up.
Yeah, I was still amazed by how many teams were still alive for this final circle, especially with the chaos that we had at the beginning. And I was expecting this to maybe be weeded down a little bit more, but you can see that Shadow was just able to bide their time here on the low ground, the peaks. When you're already pre-holding these angles, you're going to be able to dish out any damage for anyone who peeks there. And so Shadow Force played this one well. They set up that evac tower, getting ready for this final fight. And again, it comes down to who has the most control. Being able to hold on to utility at the end is also one thing that I've been noting from a lot of our teams. They've been making sure that they have got at least an extra nade in their back pocket for these last fights, and Shadow Force were able to maintain that. So it ends up paying off for them in the end.
Thank you so much for catching me as well on that. Shadow was able to take the win. Interforce had a win a little bit earlier, but it was Shadow's turn to shine. We don't want to take that away from them. However, Niazul, Jaguaris, and Kurev, we got a little bit of a chat with them, saying we are the calm team. We do not panic. Our personalities allow things to happen. The story, though, is that they have waited almost too long, and it was just one game that was separating them from going to elimination brackets or being out of the tournament from being in winners. We're kind of in a situation here where we need these performances to happen. It is happening. You see that comparison between them and Exo Clan. Case Swinney and Niazul snipe this guy out of his mind so far. 11 kills, 2,800. Niazul getting just about half of that, still doing tons of damage, but 2 kill leaders in our lobby so far.
Yeah, I mean, Case Swinney's been around since the beginning. I remember meeting him at X Games, and he's just a phenomenal player. He's been, at the top. He's been kind of all over the place, and to see him performing this well, they had the crowd hype in Mannheim, and I feel like they're bringing them back in. They got to win. It's been fun to watch them for sure.
Fnatic at the top of the overall leaderboards. Falcon right behind them. Noctim, Aurora, and Alliance rounding out our top 5 so far. But remember, we're paying attention to that bottom 5. 15th place, Green Stego not playing yet. And obviously 100 Thieves, ExoClan, Crazy Raccoon, Furia, VK Gaming. And you see these moments of what does it take ultimately to get past it? Well, Liquid Alienware at 90 points, Envy at 88. It certainly looks like 94 is going to get crossed, most likely this next game. But how far will that go, and which teams will flip-flop? That starts to become the question. Jamerson, if I look all the way down, you know, you do start to feel a little bit worried. The 61 points of NRG, the things like that, that seems to be a very tough hill to climb at this point.
Yeah, despite getting the win in that last match for Shadow 3690, they need almost back-to-back wins at this point.
I mean, it did happen.
4 wins in a row.
In champs with TSM, and they were somehow able to win. I mean, that's you know,
crazy.
it could happen.
But one big issue that they're facing right now is that the tempo of the lobby has increased. We're seeing a lot of early game and mid game fighting right now. That's leaving a lot of kills that typically come in the late game out of the pool. If we look at the final breakdown of the leaderboard of the last match, you saw that it was 7 KP across all 3 or 7 KP per team in the top 3. Typically, you see it be a little bit more top heavy. So we're seeing that the KP is getting spread out more evenly across the lobby. And so just getting the placement points is not going to be enough. Just getting the final additional kill points at the end of the games isn't going to be enough. You need to find that mid-game aggression for them. And it's going to be difficult with how many teams are playing aggressive right now.
Jayhawk, last words before we head out.
With that increased threshold, I really don't know what's going to happen here. All those teams that are sitting at 99, they don't feel safe, and that's a weird thing to be saying right now.
That is
we're going to see a tiebreaker.
A weird thing to be saying. Tiebreakers could be the key. Let's find out. I've got 2 gentlemen ready to go. They're in prime spirits to kick off these last 3 games. I'll be on the edge of my seat watching. Fellas, Mark, Dan, take it away.
Let's do this. Let's get into it. And we are the lucky ones, Dan. We are the ones who get to kind of guide you through games 4 to 6 here. And this is where we find out who's going to go to the elimination bracket, who's going to progress to the winners bracket. And we were kind of looking at the numbers, and you know, they were just kind of alluding to it on the desk there. A little bit higher than what we're used to seeing.
The numbers aren't numbering.
I mean, you were looking at it, you were like, something's wrong here, something's wrong. Something in the waters isn't quite adding up. And a little bit theory crafting, we're like, well, why is that? And we kind of look at the meta, we're looking at the support meta. The ability to get players back into the game means that pretty much there's more bodies to kill, which is why we're seeing this increased amount of points.
Yeah, we were gonna, I say we, I won't put you in the same kind of math. It was me. I was going off the number of around 85 to 90, as were a lot of us, and we've already surpassed that. The cutoff as it stands, 94. VK Gaming sitting in 20th place. That is what is being chased. The likes of Liquid Alienware only 4 points behind, Envy only 6 points behind, and you have 3 games to do it. So it is likely that they would get there, but not impossible that they wouldn't. So VK Gaming are going to be watching and probably biting off every single fingernail, might even get to the toenails.
Well, who knows? I'll leave that to you to put into your minds. But for VK Gaming and for NForce 36, still chances to make things happen here, and for everybody, still chances to make things happen. A lot of points still available. Remember, we've still got 3 games of Apex Legends. That's a huge amount of points that you can tally up across those 3 games and completely change the complexion of how these brackets and how these lobbies are going to look going into tomorrow. Now, as far as the map is concerned, we are staying here on E District, where we've just been, before we head to Storm Point, which is not only exciting for everybody to watch in match 5 and 6, but also for us, because we haven't casted it yet.
Yeah, I'm excited to get to Storm Point, but, you know, E District is always entertaining. We always have those final circles that provide with incredible amount of people in the end zone as well. It's just going to be one of those scenarios where you never know who is going to win. But I'm excited because of how close some of these teams are now to getting to that top 20. The teams we're going to be looking out for, first and foremost, Liquid Alienware, Envy, Stallions, and Oblivion. They are the 4 closest teams to that top 20, although it is a big difference from Envy to Stallions, a 10-point difference. So they're going to need something special on the Stallions.
They certainly are indeed. Something to keep an eye on is maybe there's going to be a little bit of a change up in the gameplay and the approach to these games from some of those teams who are starting to look to chase points. Are they going to look for some early fights? Are they going to try and get KP on the board, build that confidence as we move through these games? E-District is going to be the map. Let's get into this one, Dan.
So NForce 36, the team that's been performing the best on E-District out of these 2 groups, an average of 14.5 points per time we've seen them on this map. So we'll have to see whether they can carry that through. But of course, it was Shadow 36 who were able to swoop on in and get that victory in the previous game as they look to try and climb the leaderboards themselves. 20 points at the moment as the series stands. But of course, they want to double that, if not triple it.
Well, we're going down south to start this one off. Just got the ring console information popping up on our map overhead. A little bit of Humbert and a little bit of the western side of the kind of dividing wall also involved. So where that zone starts to pull is going to be very interesting late on. And when you see a circle pop on like that, a lot of teams are probably going to be thinking, we're going to need to hit third.
Looks a little bit like you trying to eat ramen.
What, because of the dexterity of the use of the chopsticks? Is that what you're saying?
Incredible technique is
Honestly.
exactly what I was thinking. And there's the zone that Onset was talking about, heading down to the southeast. It might just be a little bit further south as well. Shadow 36, the previous winners, are going to be in one of the prime positions. And of course, FaZe Clan have a ring console to work with there in Humbert Labs, so they will know that they don't have to travel too far. And similarly for Dreamfire, just on the northern side of that ring that we have, they got that information so they can move fast as well.
Yeah, just trying to kind of keep my eyes on what's going to be available for a third beacon kind of pit stop for some of these teams who are going to be rotating a little bit later. Street Market does have that ring console. I'm trying to see if Shipyard Arcade has one available. It doesn't look like it does. Viaduct certainly does, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so. Keep an eye on Dreamfire here as well. You can see them on your minimap. They actually took a redeploy and they are heading down south. And that's a good indication of where they think this circle is going to be going, because they were one of the first who got said information. And then on the other side, you've got Shadow 36, who do not have ring console from Old Town, and they are moving back up, and they probably saw Dreamfire pass. So this is one of those scenarios, again, where people are starting to see those arrive. They're seeing the traffic.
Ships in
the
night.
Yeah, like ships in the night, they pass, but then they have to decide where they play off the back of it.
Yeah, really interested to see how some of these teams who are going to be forced to approach a little bit later do play. I got a feeling that we might see a little bit of build-up and traffic around those ring consoles a little bit later on, just due to the unpredictable nature of where that zone is going to pull on that third zone. So it's kind of all set up quite nicely for this one. We might have some of those earlier engagements than we expected as we take a good close look at the Goliath burger.
Do you think you could eat it?
No problem.
You know, anyone else, and I probably think they would have been lying, but I do think you could. Now, E36, I actually mentioned them earlier. One of our better performing teams on E-District. They're posturing up against Oblivion.
Well, there's the as it stands on the right-hand side of your screen, and of course the top 20 will go into that winner's bracket. Bottom 20 are going to have to fight a longer road to try and get to that match point finals on Sunday. Oblivion on your screen right now, 9th place overall in this lobby with 19 points on the board. They will want a stronger end to these games to give themselves a chance.
Oh, this is sneaky.
Uh-oh.
It's also very risky.
It seems like the timing was completely off there for CNAP. He just wasn't able to catch one of the Oblivion members, and now E36 have had to recuperate together. Although they don't have the high ground, they do have those first shots going down.
Nice shots initially. Now, the counter slap comes out as well, but you've just got to hit and hope with the scout when you're firing it blind like that. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade though, 2-on-2.
Aimbot now. And a stuck between wanting to push and wanting to stay alive here. He's left on his own. He's done some good damage. Uses the Valk Jets. He wants to get this kill. He wants to get this knock and turn it into a 1v1. He does do exactly that. He jumps up, grabs the banner. He doesn't get the armor swap, but does he need it? No, he doesn't. That is heartbreaking. He wanted that armor swap, but unfortunately it was a teammate's death box. He grabs the banner, and Oblivion are saved because of that, and that right there is the culprit.
So close to having a magic moment on the main stage. And sadly for Enter Force 36, they have to just watch on for the rest of this game. But Cloud9, TSM very close at the moment. This is of course a look at Humbert Labs, where all the traffic is starting to be directed toward for this final circle. And it is certainly going to be an entertaining one when we get there. Most teams should be able to reside and get alongside one another here. We shouldn't see too many fights at this point. But what causes fights to break out usually is when teams start to arrive and force those other teams a little bit closer to one another.
TSM on our screen right now. 12th place overall in this lobby. A little bit of a quiet one for them. Usually we're talking about them being front runners in the lobby. Ryder is only halfway through the games at the moment, still got plenty to play, and Storm Point is somewhere where they have been having quite a bit of success. Sheila is going to announce that she's in the vicinity as well, as Reps will take a little bit of damage on his cross.
Oh, I tell you what, NRG and FaZe are actually going to go toe-to-toe here. Bubble on bubble, wall on wall. Fun's taking a lot of damage, but they do have the lead, NRG, right now.
Certainly do, and there's a res coming in, but get the feeling that this one should be NRG's, but no! no! It's going to be FaZe who somehow turned that one around, actually coming into third party this fight that is taking place, and it's Ninjas in Pajamas who are going to be able to clean up the pieces.
Very bad news for both FaZe Clan and NRG, two teams who are down in that bottom 10 who need points, as are Ninjas in Pajamas. 34th position at the moment, and it just seems like one fight suddenly caused all of these other fights to break out. No one comfortable in their position, and they want to get this KP.
TSM are waiting underneath this as well. We saw them rotate into that low ground. Cloud9 tried to move in themselves, but Shubi's gone down, and that's going to be the Newcastle on his back. That means Rezzes are going to be much more difficult. Naughty's going to follow him down for a little nap himself, and Sorcerer is probably thinking, what are we doing? How have we managed to be involved in this fight and not take anyone with us? It's going to be Ninjas in Pajamas who will be strongest, and TSM probably thinking, is it our time to arrive now? C9 completely eliminated, and that's the pace of the game, right? Everyone's desperate for these points.
But now Alliance are getting involved, and it looks like Ninjas in Pajamas are maybe going to go down here, but elsewhere, Go Next are also taking a fight. It's going to be Oblivion on the receiving end of that, but the fact we're seeing so much fighting happening in Humbert Labs, I think just shows the pressure that is on some of these teams right now, and also the lack of risk, or maybe too much risk from some of them. The likes of Cloud9, for example, they're already in the winner's bracket, so they probably feel like they can take those fights, but was it worth it?
Okay. This is why I was talking about third beacon being vital to a lot of teams. We were thinking Humbert, maybe it's pulling back to the other side of that wall. Well, we're still not sure what side of the wall it's going to go. You would imagine it's going to go towards the Stallion side, the western side, but it's moved back up to the north. And as you can see on your map overhead at home or wherever you're watching in the arena, bad news for everyone that's in Humbert Labs right now, because none of them are going to be safe.
Maybe they all had a feeling, and that's why everyone just suddenly started collapsing on one another, and third party after third party. We've just seen Ninjas in Pajamas get eliminated right in front of our very eyes. Oblivion just went down prior to that as well. So there's only a few survivors of those who were at Humbert Labs, and I'm so surprised by the amount of fighting we just saw, but again, I think that just really shows how desperate some of these teams are to get points.
I mean, it's a big opportunity here for Stallions, right? As FaZe and Nags are going to be trying their best just to survive, just to eke out a few points. Does manage to get the shield battery off, and now he's going to be scarpering away into the night. But for Stallions, one of the teams that you were talking about being on that cutoff, trying to force their way into the winner side of this bracket, they are dead center zone in one of the only buildings that's there. A Shopify Rebellion now moving in to try and clean up some pieces.
One down, one to go. Yanya, the first one to fall on the side of Envy.
Fury here as well, though. Fury are looking at this. And even though Shopify Rebellion are trying to chase down these final members, Fury were able to steal away at least one of those KP. It looks like Shopify Rebellion will be able to succeed in their initial mission, as Envy will be eliminated. So for Shopify Rebellion, that's more points on the board. They're looking pretty solid when it comes to the overall leaderboards at the moment, but every little helps.
I remember Envy were one of those teams that were so desperately close to the top 20. Only 5 points behind 20th position, but they go down. And again, that is great news for VK Gaming, who are just hoping that the miracle can happen, that no one catches them up. But of course, Liquid Alienware are still alive and are closing in on that 94. They're only 3 points behind as Alliance start to move on in. They'll be up into the air to try and find a place to play. And actually, they might even... Yeah, I was going to say, I think they considered following Shopify Rebellion for a second, but they are going to head towards them.
It's been a fantastic 2 days for Alliance. Currently right up there when it comes to the leaderboards, in 5th position if I'm not mistaken. 135 points already secured for them with more points on the board. They're probably thinking about POI draft. They want to get number 1 when these games are done and dusted. Really give themselves the best opportunity, that winner side of the bracket.
Yeah, they are 25 points behind Fnatic, and of course, everyone ahead of Alliance right now are not playing, so they have a real opportunity to take that number 1 spot in the POI draft. And it would do them wonders, really, if you think about where they like to play, and the fact they take Trident on Stone Point, for example, it does open up a strong pick on either E-District or World's Edge. They're certainly set up well to be up there, but they just need one more big game, you feel, to really surpass those other big, heavy hitters. Now, let's see where this zone goes. So he is going to continue to pull a little bit further east here, but both sides of that wall still in play.
Stallion's probably thinking, why is there nobody here? Is it going the other side of the wall? 100 Thieves probably thinking, why is nobody here? Is it pulling to the other side of the wall? That's kind of the dilemma that both of these teams are facing right now. FaZe did manage to get the respawn, by the way, in the meantime, over at Stadium, and they're working their way in from the zone. we're going to see the fights start to break out. Everybody is fighting for space, fighting for points. One of those teams is Dreamfire.
Fighting to try and be in the winner's bracket. Dreamfire down in the bottom 10 at the moment.
Ow.
And oh my goodness.
Okay.
They just got absolutely obliterated by Shadow 36. And Shadow 36, previous winners, really trying to do something and make that miracle happen for their run to the winner's bracket.
Team Liquid Alienware just took to the skies for a second to find themselves a safe spot to play. They're not going to be inside of the following zone, but they will be inside of the current one. TSM also did likewise with a little evac tower play of their own, and they will now be playing just underneath the bridge. As you can see just in the background there, thanks to our observers overlooking everything. This is kind of the leftovers of Humbert Labs, though. These are the teams that haven't managed to rotate out quite as yet, and one of those teams just managed to pick up a champion banner themselves in the previous game, and that's going to be ExoClan.
How about it? ExoClan on 102 points, currently sitting in 17th place. I mean, they're looking pretty good for the winner's bracket. I highly doubt that they would be overtaken at this point by 4 other teams. And then considering coming into this tournament, I was wondering, you know, would they make it to the winner's bracket? How are they going to play? An on and off team, but they have very much performed here today, and they showed that they really are a team that everyone has to just respect, similarly to a lot of the other EMEA teams that we've seen performing at this tournament.
Yeah, it feels like day 1 and 2 have really belonged to EMEA, and I've been highlighting it, I think understandably so. But boy, would they like it to be days 3, 4, and 5 that really are the ones that they are remembered for. When we get to those big moments, we get to those qualification matches, we get to the match point finals, which of course everybody who's watching around the world is so excited about, and we get the final answer, we think, unless the zone decides to be really weird.
Imagine.
Yeah, it just changes randomly. But it's going to be TSM, only team who are inside of some sort of playable cover underneath that bridge, who are going to be able to survive the longest with the natural formations around them.
Of course, that will be the final circle to work with for TSM, so they can sit pretty for now, but it's about who starts to join them. ExoClan, speaking of them and how well they've been playing, how do they do as a 2?
Feud is doing some good damage, but Swinny is left on his own. Flatline fire is going to be good. Supernova eliminated. Swinny with that flatline is very synonymous with success, and again, it's going to do enough to get him those kills.
No one around to pick up the pieces, and third party to ExoClan will reset as well. Shadow 36 are the closest team, but they are not close enough to go in, swoop in, and take those kills. So instead, they are just going to watch from afar. But you can see the pings are coming through. They are aware of ExoClan's position. But both of these teams on the south are going to have to try and find a way into this zone. And sadly, there's a couple of teams like 100 Thieves who are going to have eyes on them.
Well, someone said something funny, because Slayers is currently giggling a little bit like I was yesterday and a little bit earlier today. It's that time of the day. I don't know what it is about Sapporo, but you get to this exact time of the day and all of a sudden everything becomes a little bit funnier than it was previously.
Maybe there's something in the water, but ExoClan are going to jump from high ground to low ground and begin that pathing towards the zone, because the zone is closing in, and it's not just the south where the zone starts to close. Everyone on that western side also have to move, Alliance being one of them. Oh, and sadly for them, their redeploy has just been shot down, so it's over towards Plan C, because they put 2 redeploys down.
That's the Sheila effect, right? That's what Rampart does, just able to destroy those evac towers so comfortably, and they're going to have to walk this one in, and somehow or other, they are going to walk this one in. Instead, a bubble fight is where we turn our attention, and one of the teams here is going to be Furia. You can see the Vaxilon wanting to slam them away, the team who is approaching, but ExoClan, they're full of confidence at the moment, and Keon isn't quite connecting until he really has to. The hip fire on the scout, good enough. ExoClan's little run's going to end, and we're into our top 11.
Have to hold your breath when you hit fire in the scout, and you're going to have to hold your breath when you're getting pushed by the Stallions, the team that needs some points. They're trying to chase that top 20. They do come in, they see the players on the floor, but Keon has escaped.
Keon with the Jets, hit the Jets. Takes to the skies.
Oh!
And has just, by the looks of things, managed to make this a little bit uncomfortable. Furia have been eliminated as will be taken down. It'll be MT who gets that elimination. Alliance now, we mentioned how they had to go to Plan C as A and B of the evac towers was taken out. Well, Plan C's looking pretty good right now. A couple of kills to their name. They're into the top 10.
Liquid Alienware are just gathering points just purely through placement right now, and they are very close to taking that 20th position away from VK Gaming and sending VK Gaming into the elimination bracket. I think it's almost a reality already. 4th place in the series. And I mean, they've left it late, have Liquid Alienware, but it's something they typically seem to do when it comes to some of these competitions. A little bit quiet in day one, but very explosive here in this series.
Liquid looking for 3 points at the moment that would get them into the positions to qualify, of course, for the winner side. Still plenty of games to go, and there's teams behind them who will be chasing them down as well. So even if they get those 3 points, there's still a lot of games to be played, and it will not secure them there until they need to be. There's your map overhead at the top left-hand side of your screen as well. A little bit of picture-in-picture so you can see the picture for yourself. As Liquid will have to move, have to lead this build. They've got Crazy Raccoon right next to them. They've got Go Next in front of them as well. This is a tough rotate here for Liquid Alienware.
It is, but it's just about survival. That's what Liquid Alienware need to do for these next few games, is just play it safe and slowly but surely gather points. Now Alliance, in their hunt to try and be the #1 pick in the POI draft. Only 16 points right now, but they can have a big game here if they find the right pathing into this zone. Maybe catch a couple of these teams off guard.
Well, they've done really well just to find a corner that will be safe. They've got the Q down as well from Newcastle, which is going to protect them from the Gibraltar ultimate that's falling from the skies. They also threw theirs forward to see if they can scrape a couple of kills up. Shopify Rebellion have been eliminated in the meantime as Hackers has the opportunity to shoot a couple of players in the back here. FaZe Clan will be eliminated alongside Shopify Rebellion just before them. And it looks like Alliance are probably thinking, do we play for kills here? Do we play for the win? With 7 squads remaining, Shadow 3690 will be the last of 4.
Alliance are being so patient here, but I think they might be forced into moving very soon. TSM have spotted them out, eyes on, and Sheila destroyed the wall. Now, Crazy Raccoon have been a bit quiet in this game. They're on this northern tip, but now they are very much going to make some noise here, but are they going to take anyone down with them?
Really difficult position. You can see, again, they're just trying to delay, trying to survive, trying to buy time for this Gibraltar ultimate to go down. And why it does and why the bubble is up, they now can start to move forward. They have to take this fight against 100 Thieves, who are trying to hold the other side of the bridge, but off that damage, Obli is flying in here.
Good damage initially. You can see the castle wall just holding them back, but they're more than happy because they are still surviving, and now they start to push in because it's going to be Sheila versus Sheila, but good connection, another one as well.
Obli will be able to get his teammate back up, excuse me. It's going to be Juzna who's going to be able to do that. Crazy Raccoon trying to hold off as well. Sangyu gives them the opportunity to fly forward to finish off some of these knocks. Grab the shield swapper, look for more KP. 100 Thieves finding the end of the Peacekeeper is not a comfortable place to be, as the kills keep on racking up.
There's a lot of teams that have lost players that are still alive, but now we see them eliminated. TSM go down, 100 Thieves go down. Confirmation that Liquid Alienware push themselves into the top 20 as well, but that doesn't guarantee them a place in the winner's bracket just yet. They've also lost one here.
The big thing is Alliance now completely own the south side of this zone with TSM falling. Liquid Alienware are going to go down as well as Crazy Raccoon trying to put some pressure onto Alliance now. Go Next Esports again, by the way, somehow involved in an endgame, as we've got 2 EMEA teams trying to take out Crazy Raccoon, the solo representative from APAC North.
And we mentioned about Alliance chasing that #1 pick in the POI draft. Don't forget, Go Next could also do it as well. They are certainly up there in that conversation.
What a rotate.
As for Crazy Raccoon,
What a rotate.
what can they do with this position?
That's brilliant. They drop from the bridge. They find a place to play these crates, and now they have forced Alliance to have to make the play onto Go Next Esports. It's brilliant from Crazy Raccoon, just to watch everything happen in front of them by dropping just at the right time, and now Sheila could do what she does best.
Dark Veils have made things awkward, the bubbles will as well, but surely this is inevitable for Crazy Raccoon.
Crazy Raccoon with the bubble down last as well. There's the app cover as well. The fight's already taking place, and it's about how many kills do you want on your way to becoming champions. Crazy Raccoon just looking for the final KP. And with 2 EMEA powerhouses in front of them, it's APAC North again who stand up.
Crazy Raccoon send themselves into 11th in the overall standings. And again, it's about improving that position in the POI draft, because surely at 118 points, their winner's bracket position would be secured. as the leaderboard is starting to change a little bit in that top 20. And it is certainly getting very nervy for some of these squads now, as only 2 matches remain.
Really, really good endgame play there from Crazy Raccoon. I mean, take yourself back 2 or 3 minutes. They were trying to force their way across that bridge where it was 2 teams holding them out. 100 Thieves was going to be one of them. And not only did they win that fight, it was how they survived. They kind of showed everything, every facet that you need to have to be a championship winning team, to win a game of Apex Legends kind of lobbies in that final 3 minutes. You had that initial kind of, we need to survive, we need to buy time, we need to exist. Then they win big fights, and then that final little micro rotate down to the low ground, into those boxes where essentially they were just watching the action take place in front of them. Then it's just clean up. And Crazy Raccoon aren't going to let that kind of opportunity slip through their fingers.
And with those 4 points, Liquid Alienware do tie themselves on 94 alongside VK Gaming. So sad news, I think, for VK Gaming. They are dropping down to 21st, and I mean, I don't know about tiebreakers, so I won't confirm it just yet, but it's very likely that VK Gaming will be in that elimination bracket. As for Liquid Alienware, yes, they're in 20th right now. You've got to remember, there are still teams behind them that could overtake them. Envy are only 5 points behind them. Stallions are only 6 points behind them. And then you've got Oblivion, who come in next, who are 16 points behind them. But again, 16 is achievable, so it isn't job done yet for Liquid Alienware.
Looking at your top 3 here, some of the stats coming in from the corresponding squads on your screen. And Go Next, what a day it's been for Go Next. Really have stepped their game up. Alliance, interested to see how they approach that end game as well. It was a really tough road for them to have to walk to get even involved in that end game, to find a spot to play. So to come from that from that difficult position to take away second place with the KP alongside it, I think Alliance will be more than happy with that.
Yeah, I think Alliance in that situation, when your redeploy gets taken down, you have to have that plan C, and boy, did they. And that puts them now 10 points behind Fnatic, by the way, in the overall. So they are really looking to be that #1 team going into the winners bracket, and that's exciting for them. Gives them the best possible pick in the POI draft, and it also makes a statement, makes everyone fear you as you're going into winners bracket.
This is the series result that you can see between A and D, the 2 teams, groups, excuse me, that we have in our lobby at the moment. 100 Thieves leading the way with 39 points. ExoClan just in behind them, and it's interesting to see, isn't it? Like, there's a couple of teams up there who have been very consistent performers, but there's a couple who are really making a go at it in these last couple of games, in this last series of the day. ExoClan being the standout for sure.
ExoClan really have surprised us, well, surprised me in particular, so we'll have to see what they could do as it comes up. Now, this is the overall standings that I was mentioning a little bit earlier. Fnatic in first still, but Alliance still with 2 matches to play and now 10 points behind them. But look at 20th position. Liquid Alienware do creep on in and find themselves sitting there right now, but it is not confirmed. It's not guaranteed, because there are still teams that could overtake them. And of course, even Furia at 104 technically could still drop out if we were to suddenly see Envy and Stallions have incredible last 5 and 6 games.
Well, it's very, very doable. That's the thing. You've got to keep that in mind. You are still in with the shout, and 2 games. Well, it's a lot of Apex Legends. One zone goes your way, you get a good game out of the back of that, and then the confidence is up. You feel like taking some fights in that final 6th game of the series. Things can really change extremely quickly, as we see some of the awesome Crazy Raccoon fans who will be very happy with what they just saw from that team in that previous game.
I will say I'm pretty happy, because my prediction curse was broken today. I went with Falcons game 1 and 2. They had a good performance. I went for Crazy Raccoon here in the 3rd series. So I think finally I'm not a curse. I feel better now.
So it's just you scratching your own back, isn't it?
No, it's just,
it really was.
It's honestly just relief. Genuine pressure was on my shoulders.
I've seen straight through you. Anyway, let's get prepared to go for a quick break, because of course we've got 2 more games to come, and we're heading straight over to Storm Point.
the official controller of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Herman Miller, the official chair of the Apex Legends Global Series.
우리 안 싸운다. 아직 조심해. 야, 갑자기 삐. 돈 우리 돈. 나이스. 끝에 대. 에임대. 하짤. 뿌리. 펼쳐. 라스. 가다필. 지붕이. 삐. 나이스.
Welcome back to the beautiful Sapporo here in Japan for the ALGS Championships Day 2, and we are getting close to closing out the action. We have 2 more games to come today as we change the scenery, much like we're seeing in the background here. Not quite a snowy Storm Point, but certainly it's somewhere where the weather can affect what's going on.
It really can, and it has been quite the blizzard outside. It was very calm when I arrived here in Sapporo, and I was like, where's all this snow that everyone's been talking about? And then suddenly it exploded as of last night, and it is going to be absolutely covered here. And it's very, very cold, but I kind of like it. Nice change of scenery.
Do you think it's cold?
Just a little bit, yeah.
I actually think it's not too bad.
There's
no wind chill.
I did.
You know what I mean? It's like, I was walking in the snow this morning and I was like, oh, it's actually not that bad. It's quite nice.
That's a typical Englishman right there.
It's never as bad as you think it is.
No,
It's never as bad as you think it is. We've got 2 games to come, of course, and we're heading over to Storm Point, which we're excited about. And I think a lot of the teams are either in one of 2 camps when it comes to emotion at the moment. They're either excited because they're playing very well, they've got a lot of points on the board, and they're feeling very comfortable they'll be going to the winner side, or they're feeling extremely anxious, Dan, because some of these teams need to make these last 2 games the best ones that they have had since they landed here in Sapporo. Get into that top 20. That's what they want to do. They want to play from the winner side. They do not want to go through the gauntlet of the elimination bracket.
The teams who realistically can still make it to the winners bracket, Envy, Stallions, and Oblivion. It's a big old chore for the likes of NRG, Shadow 36, Ninjas in Pajamas, Dreamfire, FaZe, and Supernova. It would have to be something special. Still doable, but let's focus on what is realistic right now. Envy on 89. They're 5 points behind. Definitely doable. Stallions and Oblivion. In terms of their stats and how they've been performing on Storm Point, Oblivion are a team who have been pretty impressive, averaging 10 points a game. So they really are going to be looking at Storm Point as a massive opportunity for getting into this winners bracket here, which could be bad news for those who currently hold those top 20 positions. On the other side, for a team like Envy, they've only been averaging 4 points on Storm Point.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrying.
It is a bit concerning.
When you're desperate for points, you don't want to hear that kind of stat. I think it's one of those where you see Storm Point probably later in the series if you're Envy and you're hoping that you're getting to Storm Point and the job's already been done. We'll take a look at the map schedule just to remind you of what's happened, and of course that we're going over to Storm Point here as well. And when you look at our winners, no repeat winners here in our first 4 matches, but certainly has been, I would say, a share of where the regions have been celebrated, right? Let's take a look at some of the drops down. Let's see what people are dropping here on Storm Point.
So of course, we'll look at Team Liquid Alienware. Where do you think they are? Barometer, of course. Where else would they be? That's where they like to call home, and no one really tries to take it off of them because they always say, well, we'll just fight you for it if you do try and take it off us. And that means that Team Liquid Alienware are going to play this one a little bit differently. You might have noticed in that last game, they didn't get any kills. They were playing very safe, they were playing very secure because they are so close to that bubble, so close to that 20th position. But I think as they look at the overalls now and they notice how close Envy are, how close Stallions are, they need to be putting points on the board.
Well, something just to highlight here is that NRG are dropping over at Northpad, and Alliance, of course, wants Northpad and Trident. And saw a little bit of, we'll call it a little bit of a sparring contest between the two in scrims in the build up to this. If you haven't seen the clip, by the way, that Hackis got with the charge rifle, when they were kind of, we'll call it contested for the sake of it, it's disgusting. I think he gets a clap and then hits the last one as well. He basically gets all 3 kills to the charge rifle. One of the shots being a collateral. It was absolutely ridiculous. So NRG are going to have to be very careful, because I think Alliance in the position that they're in right now, they're comfortable, they're good, they're qualified. NRG, not so much.
Well, it's our last 2 games of the day, the last 2 games of the group stage, and it is going to be Storm Point where we're heading. Are we going to see Alliance get a little bit aggy onto NRG, as they have little to lose here, whereas NRG, everything to lose. They're in 32nd position, and they are quite some way away from that top 20. They need wins, arguably back-to-back wins, if they were to find themselves in the winners bracket.
Lots of work to do, a lot of pressure on their shoulders. At the other end of the table, though, remember, there's still so much to play for, and I'm talking about the top half of the table. The POI draft, of course, is going to be heavily influenced by where you finish up. So many points still available, and you're looking at the top, you're looking at Alliance, you're looking at the likes of Crazy Raccoon, and all of these teams who are at the top. They want to take home first place. Alliance have the chance to do so. They're 10 points behind Fnatic as it stands, who aren't playing right now. They could jump over it.
You've also got to remember that if you finish 21st, you're also going to be first in that POI draft pick for the elimination bracket as well. So still, even if you might be down in the gutter of the bottom 10, if you can just jump up a few more positions, you might give yourself a better chance in the elimination bracket to make it to those grand finals.
Well, as we see Crazy Raccoon on our screen on their loop path, a little bit of a loop cam for them. Winners of our previous game. A lot of fans here, of course, in Sapporo who have turned out to see CR do what they do best. And what a story it would be. And I mentioned this kind of before we got under, or should I say, in some of the first games we were lucky enough to commentate on day 1. Crazy Raccoon, what an up and down season it's been, because Split 1 playoffs, you take yourself back to LA and the cold-hearted stare that Obli gave everybody and Sangyun alongside him. Well, Yuza's joining them now, and they didn't qualify for Split 2, did not get to defend their crown. Well, right now they're here at Champs, thanks to that performance in Split 1, and playing pretty well.
Jayhawk told me as well in an interview, they asked him, like, why did you just stand up and stare at the crowd? And he said, well, there's been so much disrespect on our region for that long. No one thought we'd ever win, and I just wanted to stare at all those people who didn't believe in us. And it's kind of crazy just to think about that moment. It almost gives me chills just thinking about it, and what a
demanding respect.
What a scenario that is for him, and that some people would dream of that moment, right? And there's only going to be a select few in the history of Apex Legends that get to experience that.
We have an English saying for that, actually.
Well, what is that?
It's just and what? It's essentially what he was doing, right? He just stand in front of everyone and went, and what? Of one. What now?
Well, looking at the zone, we're going to be heading west. Cloud9 over towards Down Beast, as are Furia. You can see Dreamfire are making their move quickly over towards the mill. There is a ring console at mill, which Cloud9 have already hit, and they have quickly moved up to Down Beast, so we might be heading to those kind of areas.
Yeah, it could be a DB zone. I wonder if it's going to pull towards the choke and be that kind of awkward end zone that we do see that finishes kind of out in the rock formations between mill and Cloud9. We'll have to see a little bit later. Elsewhere, you can see just at the top of Command Center, Stallions are getting creative with an evac tower.
And this zone might be good news for NRG, by the way, because there's not very far for NRG to move. But what is far for NRG to move is up this leaderboard, because they've still got to catch up to 94 points, which Liquid Alienware currently occupy. Sadly for VK Gaming, they will be dropping into that elimination bracket because they are not playing. Alliance were kind of getting a little bit close to NRG, but Stallions are about to join this area, this vicinity. And I think Alliance will be able to see them very clearly here, so they'll be well aware of what could happen if they start to push up.
The Alliance at the moment just looking for some Evo, just taking down the Prowler's nests. I think we yet to see a Prowler score. I mean, let's say, shout out to Hugo, Doc, everyone in the back who's doing some fantastic work on the statistics for this event. I do want to see if a Prowler has managed to get a kill on land, knock someone on land. Do you reckon it's happened?
Ever? Yes. At this tournament? Unsure.
On land. I can't remember myself. If it has happened, use the power of social media to make me aware of it.
E36 just looking over the drop at the moment. Do they fancy getting any presents? Oblivion are leaving it for them. And remember, Oblivion, perhaps the team to watch in that chasing pack, because they have performed very well in Storm Point as Exo Clan get a nice little chunk.
chunk, but no damage really done as yet. But now the damage does start to come in. It's Supernova who will be sandwiched between two teams, it seems like, and will comfortably be taken care of. So ExoClan continue their little bit of momentum. It's such a funny squad, ExoClan, I have to say. Always well supported wherever they go in the world, but it just feels like they'll have a series where they're totally anonymous, and then they're like, it's almost as if they're begrudging, like, all right, we'll win now. You know what I mean? And they just all of a sudden get momentum late the tournament goes on, and they're always there or thereabout when it comes to those finals lobbies.
And ExoClan, one of the first teams to drop the Newcastle from their composition as well, going with the Rampart and Loba as Dreamfire pushing up onto Envy.
This is not good for Envy. I mean, Yanya going down like that when you're so desperate for points, when you're one of those teams who's trying to get into the winner side of the bracket, is a tough one. A tough one. Although, we'll say in this meta, at least there's a chance to get him back in.
Also kind of crazy that it's Liquid Alienware and Envy competing for 20th position at the moment. Of course, we know the history of Yanya and Liquid Alienware, of course, previous teammates. Speaking of Liquid Alienware, our current team that holds 20th position, they also still hold this spot at Sinto Station. Looks like they're trying to see if they can pick up the kills onto Oblivion, but I think Oblivion are just going to continue on their rotation. But Furia might be flying. Actually, they're not flying. They are driving right next to them.
Yep, they are. I'm not quite sure what happened there. It felt like maybe someone didn't hold on to the handlebars of the Trident there and slipped off. Happens. But they survive. It happens. Yeah. Time to hit the ring console, Liquid.
I think this ring console might be a popular one, as people on their rotation start to move through Sito and look to try and get any extra info. But those teams who are playing Valkyrie, by the way, the survey beacon is going to give you plenty of info here. All you need of knowing where to go. It is just go west.
Force 36. Going to get a knock with the dual Modis onto Synetic from FaZe. FaZe now really... I mean, there hasn't really been too much to talk about for FaZe in this tournament whatsoever. It feels like every 3v3 they're just getting a little bit run over here in Japan, and it's looking like it's the same case here in this fight. 36, move in, pick up the kills, but now they're going to worry about ninjas in pajamas who are arriving.
It's Force 36 have reset though, so this isn't going to be as easy a fight as maybe the ninjas thought. Aimbot with the Mozams, the dual Mozams just waiting for someone to walk right into his reticle. This is going to be a long fight, and it is going to be a possible third party afterwards as well. Force 36 have lost 2.
Oblivion now trying to get involved. This is a very, very interesting fight where everyone's just taking turns to be the third party and then become the thirded party, essentially. Blinks is going to take down Zane, and this is getting really scrappy now inside of this building. This is one of those that, if you're not careful, can get a little bit out of hand, and before you know it, you're not really getting away with anything. E36 will be eliminated as a desperate play on a little bit of a hijack of a Trident. And it looks like Oblivion will be able to get the KP that they desired, and they will be able to survive.
And I said, Oblivion might be the threat in the chasing pack. Considering how successful they have been on Stormpoint, there's just something about this map that has really played into their playstyle. Zone-wise, I said go west. Maybe we don't always listen to the advice of Dan Gaskin. Instead, we're going to be heading over towards Checkpoint.
I will say it's very 50-50. Sometimes I ignore you and regret it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I listen.
And regret
it. But Oblivion winning that fight in the building, you can see why they were so hot on winning that fight, because now we're seeing the pull back towards Checkpoint.
You can also understand, though, why people go up towards Down Beast, because I think it is easier to go to Down Beast area and then it moves inland and then you can transition from there. However, if you commit to Checkpoint and then it moves to Down Beast, you are going to be really struggling to find any playable space, and you're also going to be griefed by anyone that's going to be on that high ground at Down Beast as well. So it's a really tough goal for a lot of these IGLs, and sadly some of them are going to be kicking themselves when they find out. Bear in mind, a lot of them won't even know yet. Some of them were able to get ring console information and have moved accordingly.
100 Thieves in one of the prime positions. It's like you're going to pull towards the kind of open ground just to the north of 100 Thieves. TSM trying to work in from the northern side of this zone at the moment. This is always such an awkward rotate to have to make, where you're underneath the main structure of Checkpoint. There's so many angles you can be shot down from height. There's teams who are obviously trying to keep their positions a little bit closer to the center of zone, and Envy did get Yanya back up, And now with the catwall are trying to force their way to zone. And they also have the next beacon information. Look at the top left. That green highlight means that Envy know exactly where this zone is going.
Yeah, Envy can actually overtake quite a lot of teams that still don't have that information, but there are plenty that are still ahead of them, as well as Ninjas are also going to get back to a full 3. After that third-party nonsense that was happening a little bit earlier. And actually, it looks like FaZe Clan have also got back up on my screen down towards Sito Station as well. So 2 of the teams that were involved in some of that scrap have somehow managed to escape and get back up.
By the way, Furia is still just driving around on a Trident, just to highlight. Furia playing their own game.
They're having a great time.
They're having a great time.
That's all that matters.
They have the radio on, windows down.
And Furia should be safe. They're on 104 points in a similar situation that Exoclan are. Like,
why not turn the radio up?
They really would have to hope that 2 teams don't have incredible last 2 games. They just need to put a few more points on the board to really guarantee themselves, but they should be okay.
One of the things I mentioned, how they were in one of the prime positions. You can see exactly why they also have that zone information. They know that they're in one of the best positions on the map because they've got the console already scanned, and their job is just to survive at this point. Watch everybody maybe rotating in from the beast side and from their south. Everyone to the north isn't going to be too much of a threat. They should deal with each other before they get to 100 Thieves. So as long as they output as much damage as they can from that building they find themselves in, they should be in a pretty good spot to have a good game. Interestingly, you mentioned FaZe Clan respawning. Well, they managed to work their way back towards Sito Station because the Mythic Bin has just spawned there as well. So they're going to be able to get those Evos up and give themselves a much better chance in these fights.
Ooh, okay. So that is a circle with a lot of open space, and the safety of checkpoint isn't necessarily going to be there for a lot of these teams. 100 Thieves, however, will be rubbing their hands together when they do find that out. But you're completely right, FaZe, they get respawned. They're down at Sito, and they say, oh,
Gaskin?
a Mythic Bin.
I did, I saw a Kraber.
You saw a Kraber?
So now it gets everyone back up to Reds.
Might have a headset issue, though, so
and gets a Kraber.
Prepare yourselves,
Station
everyone,
referee
just in
action.
case.
Station referee is in action, everyone.
We've not had a pause yet, you and I, so we'll see. Maybe we'll get our first one of the tournament.
Why? Why would you say that?
As long as I'm mentally prepared myself, so I can prepare everyone else for it as well,
enough,
just in case.
Well, hopefully not. Hopefully that little issue does get sorted. Luckily for FaZe, there's no one around them, so they could maybe get that sorted as everyone else takes care of business.
This could be a fight. Probably is going to be a fight. Dreamfire and Crazy Raccoon. It's not the first time they've scrapped so far this tournament.
He is a little bit separated from his team here as well. You can see he's having to use the Newcastle view just to try and survive. Obviously, he's going to be focused on himself on the Crazy Raccoon side, and this is a little bit scrappy, a little bit ugly at the moment. I think he's going to find there's multiple players in front of him.
Crazy Raccoon in a much more comfortable position in the leaderboard, so they can probably play a little bit more free, whereas for Dreamfire, backs quite literally against the wall, not only here at the mill, but also in the leaderboards. They're down in 36th.
From there, he's starting to flush the players out. Castle Wall go down, but the only problem is kills were picked up just before that, and now it's all up to Obli. It's a 2v1 if I'm not mistaken. That'll be a comfortable win for Dreamfire. A little bit of noise here from the crowd, trying to push their team forward, and it'll be what feels like the first loss in a team fight for quite some time for Crazy Raccoon.
Yeah, Dreamfire needed that though. If they were going to have any chance of getting to winner's bracket, they had to survive that fight. It's not going to impact Crazy Raccoon as much. They should be comfortable in that winner's bracket. Now, Cloud9, they're moving, they're grooving. Sadly, they're just going to be a 2, make it a 1, as Shubi looks like he's going to fall as well. 16 squads now remaining, that's a tough one for Cloud9.
Shooby-dooby-doo. Unfortunately for him, he's going to be taken down, and NRG try and force their way towards zone. They are not safe quite yet because Alliance are at their back on that mountain range, and Stallions are just looking to pick up any pieces from this fight that might break out from range. Scurry almost with the perfect weapon here as NRG will be eliminated. That'll be them out of the lobby now, as Alliance look pretty comfortable in this team fight.
Alliance, Exoclan and Stallions all so close to one another. I'm sure Stallions would love to be able to pick up these kills, and Albrelli does manage to knock K-Swinny, so they look to try and push in on this one. Maybe they don't know that Alliance is on the other side of it though, so they do just need to be a little bit careful. They're able to get the final finish onto K20 and quite rightly back off afterwards. So they do sniff out the Alliance boys on the other side.
I mean, any opportunity to gather points, I think you have to try and take, and I think it's a really smart play actually for Stallions, who are one of those bubble teams trying to force their way in to that winner side of the bracket. ExoClan will be eliminated as Alliance once again in these 3v3s just dominate. Now they've got to look at Stallions, and this is a big moment here for Stallions, because Abraleli has just been rezzed, and you know that Alliance know that, and here comes the slam.
Two of them are batting, but they do get it off. This is still a winnable fight for Stallions, and a big 78 to kick us off here.
Bubble will be forced from Alliance and down from the low ground. Now they'll have to fight. Albralele is going to find effect and Hackis himself though, and Albralele might be looking for all three here. Crooks should finish this off. Alliance eliminated as Stallions will hold strong.
That's massive for Stallions. Big KP to send them closer to that top 20, to be breathing down the neck of Liquid Alienware. Shopify Rebellion are in the area, they are in the vicinity. TSM just got eliminated in 13th, and the zone is continuing to pull the way of Stallions. It could have gone from good news to even better news with where this circle is.
Well, Stallions, if they can force their way forward about 15, 20 feet, they will be safe. But Shopify Rebellion are trying to hold them out at the moment. If they can do so, though, everybody else in the lobby will have to engage before Stallions will have to fight anyone. This is a huge, massive opportunity here for Stallions to get the points they need to force themselves from 22nd, like you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, into that top 20.
They're using those rampart walls successfully here to just slice brick by brick, step by step. Dreamfire eliminated in 12th. As Albralele navigating this one excellently. The first time we've seen him on LAN in 2 years that Mark's mentioned a few times. Could we be seeing him in a winner's bracket lobby? As now Team Liquid Anywhere, the team that's in 20th, they're under a little bit of pressure here.
Certainly are. This is the north side of this zone. This is Checkpoint. This is all the teams that had to go through the POI. And now they have to leave. You've got Liquid Alienware, Ninja, Shadow 3690 overlooking all of this as well. And Liquid Alienware are desperately trying just to survive. The grenades that are just being sent their way at the moment, looking to obliterate them behind this wall, but they survive for now.
The Ninjas need big games, they need kills, and they need wins. But can they do it from this position? Can anyone do it really from this position?
Alive.
On this northern side, if you are able to find kills, you might be able to get yourself in a good spot. Now, Envy, speaking of good spots, and speaking of chasing points, they're currently looking for a bit more to get into that top 20. Let's jump into a listening, see how Envy are feeling.
That's good, yes, that's good, that's good.
Catwalled on the left.
They're trying to break him, I'm watching. Just stare at this.
Yeah.
He reinforced again.
Bubbled
Yep.
here, bubbled here.
I will have my cuddle again, okay? Yeah, they bubbled the car over there.
10 seconds till zone close, don't get
Yep.
cracked.
Yep. Okay, you guys ready?
Yep.
Yep.
I'm just waiting till it
We still have
actually
time.
pops.
We still have time, yeah.
Well, till it actually pops.
Yep.
Okay, ready? They're
Yep.
already moving, they're already moving. That's good, that's good. Ready?
Yep.
I'm doing
Ready.
it. Let's go. I got cracked a bit. Just fucking, we're just gonna have to see what's in. Yep. Maybe like this little fence line right here? We're in right here, we're in right here. You have the
Yeah.
wall towards
I'm
checkpoint,
cuddling.
maybe?
I'm cuddling.
Well, the comms are extremely quiet, they're extremely calm, but the move is something completely different. It is a ballsy move here from Envy. They bubble the car, and Dropped might be the last player alive here as the bombardment goes down. He's trying to save the pieces here. Yanya, he's been finished off. Gonex eliminated in the meantime, and at least now he has a buddy in Knock to crawl towards him behind the last pieces of this castle wall. But here come Ninjas!
Ninjas get the kills, Envy eliminated in 9th. Now Ninjas need to try and reset here. The real question is, can they? Yes, they can. Team Liquid Alienware, though, against Shadow. Posturing up, bubble to bubble one. When the bubble falls, you have to have a plan.
Jaguarez now with the R99 in the Mastiff, a little bit of a throwback when it comes to the loadout. Ninjas will be eliminated as well as we go now into our top 7. Make that 6 as Shadow 3690 will go as well. The two closest teams to each other at the moment, Liquid Alienware and Oblivion on the north side of this zone. Furious slap bang in the middle. We were joking about them running around on a trident. Well, there's no joke anymore because they are completely and utterly central.
And remember, for teams left, Oblivion arguably the biggest threat to Liquid Alienware's top 20 position as well, because Stallions were eliminated, but Liquid Alienware outlasting them is massive for their chances of getting to winner's bracket, still with one match to play here in this series.
Gibbyol's going down. Oblivion should be safe from it, though. You can see no damage whatsoever is going to be taken. The teams who are going to have to move first, Shopify Rebellion, FaZe Clan, on that southern side have the furthest to go to this endgame. Furia are slap in the middle, and you would imagine would be looking to hold out the likes of Liquid on 100 Thieves. FaZe and Shopify might have a little bit of a freer walk in than they realize here.
Last-ditch attempt for some of these teams to find points. Liquid Alienware in this position. The trouble is they need to check both north and south, and they do have a little bit of high ground over the southern players, but it's Oblivion who are their immediate concern. And Oblivion know it as well. Oblivion have their eyes trained on Team Liquid right now, and not just eyes, but Sheila as well.
I think Oblivion want to try and wrap. They want to try and essentially mirror what Liquid Alienware do here. They're waiting for them to make that move. They're trying to force them away, and if they do, then they can pay attention to the teams who are center zone. FaZe Clan have been eliminated, and Jaguares with a little bit of a throwback spray from the R99 will clear a little bit more space here. 100 Thieves will be the victims here of Team Liquid Alienware.
Yeah, they go down. 4 squads now left. Oblivion now take that position that Liquid Alienware were in. Furia still holds center zone, but Shopify Rebellion waiting down low as now we start to see the Newcastle Ultimates be laid down just to try and build something you can hide behind, and Gibby bubbles have just been popped. But remember, that means Oblivion, no castle wall and no bubble.
Liquid is sending it onto Furia here down in that middle zone. Furia trying to hold, a couple of trades coming through. Kurev now left on his own, trying to escape, and he's just going to run into trouble as Liquid Alienware will be eliminated. Oblivion, though, from the high ground, now move down to survey the areas surrounding them. Reeds is going to back up. It looks like they weren't fully committed to sending it there.
Oblivion, remember, a team that is closing in on that top 20. They can give themselves a chance here.
The bubble goes down last here for Oblivion. That means that SR and Furia will be forced to engage first, as the bubbles will drop, but instead both teams try and push up onto that high ground. And Oblivion, now they've got some work to do. You can hear the Sheila, but you can also see Blixer starting to go a bit crazy in this endgame. Koiful left on his own, and it will be Furia who come through in the final moments to clutch and win game number 5. That is one intense endgame here on Storm Point.
I mean, blink and you'll miss it. Disbelief from Koiful. Thought maybe they'd done enough at Shopify Rebellion, but it's Furia who pull out all the stops to get to the middle of zone and then somehow pull out the victory as well. Not only getting the victory, but also definitely securing themselves in the winner's bracket with that victory, just to send them even further. They just went from 19th to 10th in the overall standing. So not only securing winner's bracket, but also getting closer to a better POI draft. But Oblivion getting to that final circle, putting points on the board, make this last match very, very interesting. I'll get into it later because we can just talk about what actually happened there. But I mean, for Furia, when all of that madness is happening, you would have thought that Oblivion had the better position, but once suddenly it gets down to just bubble shields and Newcastle tacticals coming into it, it is about who is peaking at the very best, who is actually hitting those shots when you need them to.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the position maybe of the bubble from Oblivion could have been a little bit better.
Yeah.
It was kind of over the ledge, so to speak, which allowed Furia to kind of creep under it, shoot up and get some damage down, whereas it was thrown a little bit further back. It's very difficult to do in the heat in the moment. Of course, maybe they would have had a little bit more cover to play for a little bit longer, but it's Furia, like we just saw, with the win in that last game. 6 kills alongside it gives them 18 points total. Shopify Rebellion was 17 in behind them, but Oblivion the bigger story here, right? They're the ones who are trying to force their way in. Stallions, I think you're looking back at some of the moments they had in that game, I think they'll be a bit disappointed just to take 6 points away from that game.
I think what's important here as well, Liquid Alienware putting 10 points on the board just to keep creating that gap between themselves and the chasing pack. They are not out of reach yet, but they have certainly put themselves in a fantastic situation going into match number 6. These are the heavy hitters though, and they are some big old names on your screen. Zainu, Unlucky, Koiful, I mean, they are 3 of the best controller players that you'll ever see.
It certainly is. A lot of Shopify Rebellion on that banner that we can see in front of us right now, and Zainu on there twice. He's already managed to pick up 2 championships, and he wants to join a very elite group of players with a 3rd one here in Japan as well. If he can manage to do that, then we have to start talking about him being one of the best in the business and one of the best, maybe, the last couple of years. Long way to go, though, until we get to that conversation.
I mean, if you ask Jayhawk, he believes that Zainu is the best player around right now, with his ability not only to kind of shoot and aim, but also his ability to call plays in the moment. He might not be the IGL, but there are very much times where he makes decisions for the team, especially in-game fighting decisions, and I think you need that for some players. Sometimes you need someone who can just take charge in the heat of the moments. This is the top 20 though. Again, Liquid Alienware still hold 20th position on 104 points. Now everyone above that should be safe. It should really only be Liquid Alienware that would even be at risk of falling out with what can actually be achieved and earned in this next match. But what's interesting is this next page of how people are closing in on Liquid Alienware and how much they have to do here, Mark, because there is about a 10-point gap between Liquid Alienware and anyone that can actually catch them.
You're looking at 104 being the chase, essentially. You've got VK Gaming, they've already played their games, they're on 94 points. Stallion's the closest to them, and doable is what you look at. It's the same with Oblivion and Envy. It's doable, but you want to essentially win this game. It's going to be your best chance to win this game. Maybe the perfect scenario is the first fight you take is against Team Liquid Alienware, and all of a sudden you get them out of the game. You know they're not grabbing any points. But unfortunately, no contesting going to be going down now with the POI draft. Otherwise, we might see a couple of people maybe rolling the dice on that one.
Sadly, it's unachievable for any of those teams you saw in the bottom 10. They realistically have to accept they're going to be in that elimination bracket, but they can still compete for a better POI draft in said elimination bracket. So it's not like they'll be throwing their game. They still have plenty to play for to ensure they give themselves their best opportunity in this tournament moving forward. But it is going to be a nervy old time for Liquid Alienware, but they did manage to put 10 points on the board in that game. Anything from 5 to 10 points in this next game, and they should surely be solidifying themselves in winner's bracket. But if they were to fall early, that's when things start to get scary.
Something about Team Liquid Alienware, isn't it, when it comes to tournaments? They always like to leave it late, whether it's qualification, whether it's making it to finals, they're always going to be entertainers, and it's looking no different here on day number 2. They hold that last spot as it stands, but we have one more game to decide who's going to be going to which bracket.
Sony InZone, the official monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everybody, to Sapporo, Japan. Welcome to the ALGS Championship, and a quick shout out to one of our wonderful sponsors. Of course, we're talking about Sony. We're talking about the InZone M10S, which has proudly been chosen as the official monitor for the ALGS Year 4 Championship and Year 5 live event, showcasing its exceptional performance. Now, Dan, you were asking me. You were sat there in the break. You're like, "What's InZone?" And I'm like, InZone's a gaming gear brand from Sony, meticulously crafted for core gamers with a lineup of high-quality gaming monitors and headsets. The InZone M10S is ready to provide an exhilarating experience for esports enthusiasts while giving you the competitive edge that you need. Let InZone elevate your gameplay to new heights. That's exactly the monitor that the wonderful people you can see sat in these booths are playing on right now. And all the feedback that I've heard, Dan, is that pretty good. Everyone's enjoying it. It's awesome.
I think I need one. It would help me elevate my gameplay to new heights.
I really need one. I need multiple to make my gameplay to where it needs to be.
You playing on multiple accounts?
No, I'm playing on
Good
multiple
answer.
screens. It's probably why I'm not very good.
Just across
Just
two.
9 screens.
Instead of widescreen,
Yeah.
you just put them
I'm
across
trying to
two.
like get ahead of a curve that is never going to be happening. But yeah,
Never going
it
to.
is what it is. We've got one more game left, and we're going to be doing it on Storm Point as well. And we've got to, of course, make sure that we've got everything buttoned up here on Storm Point, and we've got to make sure that we're finding out who goes to which side of the bracket. This is how things stand at the moment. We'll take a look at that, and we'll see where the points are standing, because the one team who's standing in the way of everybody else is Team Liquid Alienware. They're holding up that 20th position at the moment, 104 points on the board. Dan Gaskin, my question to you, my good friend, is can anyone steal it away from them?
Yes, they can. Will they, however? I guess a better question. Maybe. It will really depend on these early engagements. Can Liquid Alienware avoid those and just be able to stay alive long enough to make it impossible for the likes of Stallions, Envy, or Oblivion to catch them up? Now, realistically, for Oblivion, they probably have to win the game if they were going to find themselves into that top 20. And you might have to say the same about Envy and Stallions, depending on how Liquid Alienware do. Because even though a 10-point difference doesn't sound like that much, you've got to remember, for every point gained by Liquid Alienware, it also is going to be gained and has to be gained by Stallions as well. So it's not about them just getting 10 points, it's about getting 10 points and getting more than Liquid Alienware as well.
Yeah, a long way to go. This is what happened so far to lead us up to this point. This is the map rotation as we close things out now with map number 6 here on Storm Point. Let's decide who goes to the winner's bracket and who starts their journey in the elimination bracket. It's the final game of day 2 here in Japan. Dan, let's do this.
Let's do it indeed. And remember, Alliance only needs 6 points to also put themselves in #1 position for that POI draft in the winner's bracket. And there is still an outside chance for Shopify Rebellion to also steal that away if they were to find a big win here. But it's Furia who found the win in the previous game. They now put themselves in the top 10 of these overalls, and again, that's pretty good for the POI draft for the winner's bracket to be in 10th position. Can they push it one step further here in match 6?
Well, Furia won that last game, of course, which is why they've earned themselves the POV we're watching right now. Also, it looked like the pictures were looking pretty good. Saw good friend Joe Brady in the booth behind the camera. Never going to get a bad picture now.
Never.
Even us.
Arguably one of the
Hold the
greatest photographers in the world.
We're going to... Arguably.
Yeah.
How dare you. He is.
I'm not saying who's arguing it, but like, you know, arguably.
So I'm standing up for my friend. We're going to Launchpad, everyone. We're going to Launchpad.
Great news for Go Next. One of those teams that I was mentioning are still competing for those top spots in the winner's bracket, trying to get a better POI draft, and for Shopify Rebellion, another team who's also competing for those top spots, who are just a little bit further south towards Devastated Coast. Now for ExoClan, you can see they are moving extremely fast from Pylon as well. They've just dropped a redeploy, and they are going to be heading to Launchpad themselves.
Go Next doing exactly the same thing. Crazy Raccoon versus Ninjas. The Raccoon beats Ninja every day of the week, the same way that Rock beats Scissors.
Sadly, that will be confirmation for Ninjas in Pyjamas. They'll be in the elimination bracket. I think they would have known it, though. On 64 points, they would have had to have a 40-plus point game. Not going to happen here. Sadly.
They would have had to farm some respawns for that to happen.
That's the thing. It's not impossible, but
Dan, it's
not
impossible.
going to happen.
Yeah, I mean...
Not in these lobbies.
Yeah, not in these lobbies. Although...
But wait.
Potentially.
But for Crazy Raccoon, they will be able to live to fight another day or another match, and they can still try and get further into the POI draft as well for winner's bracket. Now, Oblivion, one of those teams that are in the chasing pack. The third team in that race, though. They are the furthest behind, but that doesn't mean it's unachievable. Maybe they'll be able to rat out over towards Launchpad and find an unexpected ExoClan. Here we go!
Well, boom. One thing you can't do if you're going to rat is lose the fight, and it's not looking too good at this point for Oblivion, and Nano is now left on his own. He's going to get charged. A little bit of hip fire. It's a 1v1. As Nano decides, I have to escape, I have to survive. Otherwise, Oblivion will be going to that elimination bracket. This is a big moment. He's out! They're done for, and it's Stallions who get some of those KP points.
Stallions who very much needed them. ExoClan also get eliminated, so Oblivion tried to play the sneaky game. But ExoClan, they came back with a bang. They really did not get caught off guard. They seemed well prepared for that fight, but sadly that means Oblivion definitely the elimination bracket. ExoClan, they'll be safe in the winners bracket though. They're not going to be too worried, but they are going to be pretty low down in the POI draft. But they'll just be happy to be in that winners bracket lobby. But it's still Liquid Alienware in 20th position, but those much needed kills for Stallions to start catching up. They do get one on the board to make that gap 9 points now.
That was a really interesting little essential kind of race between air and land there, between TSM and FaZe. It was FaZe who were going through the skies and just had the speed advantage onto TSM to get ahead of them on that rotate. Now they're going to do the spiders and get a little bit of extra loot, and TSM are probably thinking, the spot we wanted is now gone.
Air, land, rock, scissors, ninjas, raccoons. You've got it all today.
Game 6, baby.
It sounds like a board game.
Late nights in Sapporo, you never know what's going to happen. I've had a lot of caffeine today.
Honestly, we need to keep an eye on Stallions, and I really appreciate our observers keep just checking in on them, because a major threat to Liquid Alienware's chances here, not just because they are the closest, but also the position they find themselves in, dead center of this circle. Of course, we'll see where it does pull for Ring 3, but they find themselves comfortably sitting there, whereas Liquid Alienware have just been able to transition from Barometer to Pylon, so they're still on their rotation.
Still, for some reason, every time you say barometer, completely right. Just remember the one time you didn't say it right.
Barometer.
Barometer. It still tickles me.
I think that was the first time I'd cast a Storm Point.
It was years ago as well, and I still hear it. 100 Thieves just going past barometer right now. But Envy in a more pressurized situation themselves, just trying to survive for now.
Remember, for all the talk about...
though. I mean, they're in a really good spot.
For all the talk about Stallions, you remember Envy, they're only a few points behind Stallions as well, so they're very much having an opportunity to try and catch up, and they are also dead center of the zone, so are going to be a threat to Liquid Alienware. But one thing that Liquid Alienware have done very well across these past couple of games is played very cautious. They have not taken any extra risks, they have not overstepped any boundaries, they have just waited for the game to come to them. They have played placement for the most part, and then they've taken any kills that come along with it.
Isn't it fascinating sometimes how these scenarios create itself? I mean, this shot from our observers is fantastic. C9 are about to ruin it, but...
It was great.
It's a battle within a battle, right? This is the two teams who probably have the best chance at qualifying, as Alb, 2 years away, has not missed a beat. Hits the big headshot, but then just not able to close that gap.
How important could this fight be for both of these teams, but also for Liquid Alienware? I think Liquid Alienware would kind of like one of them to be eliminated, but also that would mean 3 extra points to one of them as well. I'm sure they would prefer they started fighting and then Cloud9 come and clean up all those pieces. It's also one of those fights that may never happen because it is center zone and both teams might just be like, do we need to be taking this fight? We're in a pretty good position, but for how long? Let's see where the zone goes and how it is going to affect this game.
Some of the teams who are on the outside of zone at the moment, you're looking at them. It's interesting to see how Liquid Alienware are playing this. They've moved from Barometer towards Pylon. They're not really in too much of a rush. They know that they haven't got good prio to this zone.
I think they were waiting for the ring console at Pylon as well. Yes, they were.
They're going to wait for this ring console and then try and make their play off the back of that. And I imagine they're going to play this pretty late to try and survive long enough that other teams will essentially take care of themselves, like we were saying inside of this build with Stallions and co.
Just playing it like a simple tennis match. Just keep putting it down the middle and like make everyone else make the mistake. 100 Thieves and Alliance are closing in the area though, and that does get a little bit concerning because if you start to see a bit too much traffic, you might be under a bit much pressure and you might start to panic. But it looks, well, you can see on the minimap just the panic happened. Liquid Alien got shot once and they instantly were out of there.
Alliance and 100 Thieves having a little poke at each other as well.
Remember, 5 points Alliance need. 6 to be precise if they want to overtake Fnatic for the #1 position in that POI draft. Very achievable here.
Team Liquid Alienware going to be safe for this next zone where they are at the moment. Don't have to do too much. Don't have to really worry about anything. It's about just holding on to this final spot for them. As they jump in the Trident, maybe they're thinking now that they have that zone information, we can throw a bubble on the bonnet and we can hit the accelerator and the gas to find ourselves a spot to play.
Remember, that's all Liquid Alienware need, is just a chance. Think back to BLGS, right? They just about sneak in to qualify. And then they go and win the whole damn thing. So if you give them an inch, they are bloody going to take a mile.
I was going to say that the Trident kind of didn't let that castle wall go down in the way that they would have wanted. Didn't really get the coverage. You can see it's kind of...
It's like a pizza wedge.
It's like a micro wall. Enforce 36 having a fight with Dreamfire in the edge zone here. Both these teams really with too much to play for in this situation. Enforce 36 will lose that fight. 16 squads now remaining. And every squad that falls is good news for T-Law.
Again, it's not